Bring in Republican Congressman from Florida, Greg Steube. Congressman Steube, thank you so much for coming back on our show. So let's jump right in, of course. So it was reported earlier today that Vice President Vance spoke up about this, and he essentially said that, bad-mouthing President Trump is an atrocious way to deal with this administration. And he was pointing that directly at President Zelensky. But now you're also finding all these Republicans trying to kind of walk the line here. Or what are you hearing from some of your Republican colleagues about this rhetoric?
Well, certainly Zelensky going after Trump doesn't win friends and influence people. I mean, we've given over hundreds of billions of dollars in American taxpayer dollars to Ukraine, and you're going to criticize President Trump. It's probably not the best decision for you to make as the leader of Ukraine. And I don't see a path where there's going to be more money that's going to be issued from Congress and from the White House to help Ukraine. So the best thing for President Zelensky to do is to join in these talks with the United States and try to reach some type of peace agreement. That's what President Trump has asked him to do. That's what Marco Rubio has asked him to do. That's what our leadership has asked them to do. And I would think that would be the best direction for President Zelensky to go.
Do you think, though, that President Trump's rhetoric at all sounds a bit like Russian propaganda? And are you at all concerned that that might hinder some of these ceasefire negotiations?
No, I don't see that at all. I mean, Zelensky just wants everybody to continue to send money to him and let them do what they're doing. It's true that they didn't have elections in 2024. We can argue the veracity of that back and forth, but the fact is they didn't have elections, and he's their de facto leader, even though that he hasn't been elected. Those portions of eastern Ukraine voted years ago to go and be annexed into Russia. So if we want to get to the debate about democracy, we can talk about that. The bottom line is the Americans sending money over to Ukraine is going to end. Congress isn't going to continue to do that. The White House isn't going to continue to do that. So unless Zelensky wants to continue to send Ukrainian men and women to die in this war, then he should join with President Trump and have some type of peace agreement and peace deal and work out those details with our administration.
I want to talk about your bill to abolish USAID. I know that Elon Musk has endorsed this idea. Currently, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is the acting administrator of USAID. And in the past, we know he's talked about how it does actually work in some ways to preserve U.S. interests on the global stage. Have you spoken to Secretary Rubio about your idea to completely abolish it?
Well, they brought it in underneath the State Department and did away with the leadership. I have not talked directly with Secretary Rubio about specifically USAID. The president has obviously ended some of the funding to most of those programs, as he should. We shouldn't spend $2 million for Guatemalan sex change operations. I mean, I could go through the list, sending money to terrorists, $9 million to Syria that ended up in the hands of terrorists. The American people don't support that. The American people don't support sending our taxpayer dollars to people that hate us. They want us to be focused on America first, and we saw that through the election. I filed a bill in the House. I hope it'll go through the process. But the administration can unilaterally decide not to spend those resources that have been previously allocated. That is certainly within their purview to do that. And both the Secretary Marco Rubio and the president have been doing that.
Do you like the idea that perhaps some facets could stay in the State Department? Do you agree that it helps with the soft power, preserving soft power for this country, and then also, doesn't allow China and Russia to make gains in some of these areas?
Yeah, but it should be underneath the State Department. It shouldn't have its own agency. USAID should go away, and then the State Department, if there is a America First need to invest in other countries for some fashion, whether it be national security or whatever the case may be, then that would be a decision that President Trump and Marco Rubio would make through the State Department. You don't need USAID to do that. The fraud is prolific. I mean, $40 billion. I mean, this is money that, as we come into these spending talks and these budget deals, we're looking at a $36 trillion deficit, a $2.5 trillion deficit per year that we're spending, and almost $40 trillion on the debt. So these are things that we have to talk about. And so I certainly think if Marco Rubio thinks there's a program that promotes the America First agenda, then absolutely you can do that through the State Department. You don't need USAID to do that.
All right. And also in terms of some of the Doge cuts that we're seeing, we heard Elon Musk say they might make some mistakes. They'll work quickly to repair them. And they've been public about some of their mistakes. But now we have this new poll from Quinnipiac that says 55% of voters believe that Elon Musk has too much power. Are you at all worried that even if you support what Doge is doing and support the cuts that they're making, that some of these mistakes are, sort of waning the public support?
Look, Congress is going to appropriate the dollars as we go into this budget reconciliation process. We are looking at all of the things that Doge has done and taking that into account as we cut spending. The budget bill that passed the committee last week was $1.5 trillion in cuts. I would love to see $2.5 trillion in cuts. But at the end of the day, Congress is going to have to make that determination from the House and the Senate. The president today tweeted on Truth about supporting the House's version because it does everything that he wants it to do, plus the tax cuts. So when we go to Washington next week, I think that's going to be what the House is going to be doing in earnest to pass that budget bill. And Congress has the power of the purse to make those decisions.
All right, Congressman Stubbe, keep us updated on all of that, okay? Thanks for coming on.